Many think scaling a pet sitting business in clients' homes is the way to go. But is it really? Today, I'm going to explore how you can scale your dog sitting business or dog walking business in a way that allows you to also slow down and appreciate the little things while still earning over six figures. So stay tuned. This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Hello, furry friend lovers. Welcome back. And thank you for popping in if you are just catching me midweek. This episode is coming up a couple of days late. I'm not going to lie, it's been a crazy week and it's just begun. Over the weekend, I had my birthday. And for a lovely birthday present on the day of my birthday, I woke up to a very, very, very frigid house. It was very, very cold. And I was like, that's not normal. So, of course, you check the thermostat, you check everything, and it's blinking. So I thought, oh, okay, it's because the power had gone out the night before. It didn't reset. It's not running, blah, blah, blah. So I reset it, got it all going. Whew. Avoided that tragedy, right? That nightmare of your heater not working when it's like 30 degrees outside. So that was good. Sigh of relief. Except I then woke up on Monday morning and bada bing, bada boom, the furnace is no longer working for reals this time. And in between all of that, I was losing sleep, to be honest. So I'm a bit behind. I was losing sleep, not because it was my birthday, but because I had two elderly dogs here who have been with me from the very beginning of my business. And so they've been with me for 6 years and are older now. And unfortunately, they require a lot more work, and that's okay. They require getting up multiple times a night, 2 or 3 times for one of them, 2 times for the other. So pretty much it's like having a newborn at your house. You don't get any sleep. And then, unfortunately, one of them has swelling of the brain, and poor little baby. So he requires a lot more extra attention. And they had me tied up. So I do apologize. Life got in the way again, and I'm actually in my studio, which is in the basement, and the heater is still not working, and it is freezing cold down here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm under a blanket. My hands are tucked in between my legs, trying to keep my fingers warm. And I'm gonna make this a quick one because not only that, but my helper this week is out on vacation. So I am here with all the dogs to myself. It's nappy time. So I thought while they take a nap, I am going to record my podcast episode finally, because I have had this written for 5 days now. And the ideas, anyways, the outline of what I want to talk about. So while I don't have the entire version completely ironed out in my mind, hopefully we'll just give it a go here and see if we can get in the flow and what I can do to help you if you are, bada bing bada boom, drum roll please, if you are in one of these two positions or dilemmas or what is it called? Forks in the road in your business. So you could either number one, be just getting started. Maybe you're just getting into pet sitting. Maybe you are just getting into home boarding, but you're also weighing your options of where you want to take this. And perhaps one of the options that you are thinking about is possibly expanding the business in a way that you hire pet sitters to go out into the client's home to do some pet sitting, which a lot of companies do. You see a lot of pet sitters go this route and this model. So it's done. It can be done. It can be quite successful financially speaking. Another option is that you could be facing rather is that you're in your business for a while already and you see the limitations of being a dog boarder, and maybe you do daycare too from your home, and you see that there's only so high you can raise your prices, there's only so many dogs you can have per day or per night, and so it kind of restricts um not your growth, but you can't scale it, right? It does restrict your growth. You can't quite scale it in the way that you could scale the business if you hired pet sitters to go out into other pet sitting, or I'm sorry, into clients' homes, correct? So you follow me so far? Okay, cool. So why am I talking about this today? Well, I think really what inspired this for me is really I see a lot of people out there really struggling with, do I just give up? I'm hitting a roadblock. I don't know where to go from here. Or I'm just so burned out. I'm so tired of trying to find new customers, trying to get customers to rebook with me. And this applies to you if you're a dog walker too, right? You're constantly trying to find new customers. You're constantly trying to get people to rebook with you. And you've probably realized at this point, if you've been in business for a little while at least, that your job is a lot more about marketing and sales than it is about taking care of dogs, oftentimes. But guess what? You have to do both, right? So, it can be quite a dilemma when you hit these forks in the road and trying to decide which way to go. And all I can tell you is there's pros and cons to each. And it really comes down to what is most important to you. So for me, I looked at it as, instead of, trading my personal time for money, I look at it as I'm trading value for money, right? So I decided to stay with the model of boarding and daycare from home. And I did this because I really value. I really value trading value for money. I really value creating the experience for dogs. And I really value helping dogs go from anxious, insecure, fearful of other dogs in a pack to super comfortable, relaxed, playful, confident. That transformation, you don't get to do that when you're pet sitting in the client's home, obviously, right? Because you're only dealing with their pets and they're used to each other, or it's just one of them. You're not doing any socialization for any of the pets if you're not pet sitting from your home. Now, if you're a dog walker, you're probably doing that. You're probably helping to socialize them if you're walking multiple clients at once. So that could play a role. But that for me it aligns more with my values, because my values and my part of my mission in becoming a pet sitter was to help dogs, really, because I see so many of them being so frightened of our great big domesticated world. And the pet owners have lots and lots and lots of love and care and concern and worry for their dogs, but they don't have necessarily the knowledge. And I'm not knocking them, it's just life. Not everybody is weird and studies dog behavior and psychology and training, like a lot of us pet sitters probably have because we're into that stuff, right? But you've noticed the average human being, even dog owners, don't always know how best to support and guide their dogs into being balanced, confident, and socially adept animals, right? And that's where it comes into play for a pet sitter who pet sits from home, because you're bringing in multiple dogs into your home and you have to make sure they all get along, right? And not only that, but you get the opportunity to create an experience for the dogs that they would not get anywhere else. And I have found in my journey that customers are far more willing to pay premium prices when they receive true value, rather than simply compensating someone or a pet sitter for their time, right? Because when you're going into the pet sitter, I'm sorry, I keep saying that. When you're going into the client's home, you're basically trading your time for money. Yeah, there's value there, but there's not a whole lot of extra things you can do to add value to make your prices more premium. And when you're pet sitting from home, when you're allowing dogs to come into your own arena, then you get to wave that magic wand and create the experience that not only changes or can positively affect the lives and experience of the dogs and the dog owners, but can also deeply affect you and your life experience and your lifestyle and your fulfillment, your sense of fulfillment, right? And let me ask you, did you get into dog sitting or pet sitting or dog walking because you just want the money? I mean, yeah, at first you need that for survival, but once you're super busy, then why are you there? Because you start asking yourself, when you get extremely busy, if you don't love what you're doing, if you're not being fulfilled by it on a daily basis, if you don't feel like you're contributing somehow positively to the dogs or their owners, or possibly both, then what is going to prevent you from just throwing up your arms and quitting when too much is too much? You see, at first glance, pet sitting in the client's home might appear to be an easier way to scale. But once you pause and consider what happens when you hire pet sitters to go into the client's home and they become a no show, or who steps in when you're already booked for another client when they don't show. And if that last minute scramble ruins your company's commitment, can you afford to lose a loyal customer? Can you afford the bad review that you're going to get from that? And all of the ripple effect customers that it touches that you will never get because of that? Then you have all these horror stories of how many times have you heard a pet sitter that was in the client's home and the client, messaged you, the boss, after the stay, and they're like, yeah, so our house smells like a pot house. Right? Or like, we noticed on our cameras that your pet sitter was doing something inappropriate here, like super embarrassing. Now, imagine if that person represents your business, right? What's the fallout from that? The bad reviews, the lost trust, tarnished reputation. And it's inevitable because you cannot control these pet sitters. And when they are not under your supervision, they can do whatever they want, and maybe the customer notices on the Ring doorbell that they only came by and stayed for a couple of hours instead of spending the night like they were supposed to, right? So there's the difference there, right? Like, you're working as somebody who is taking care of pet sitters, managing people versus managing dogs. And if you got into this business to work with dogs, then scaling your business in a way that is hiring pet sitters to go into the client's home means you're not going to be working with the dogs. Yeah, that means you're going to be working with managing people. You see, it might seem like the answer at first for financial reasons, but soon you will find yourself transformed into a full-time babysitter. All right. Managing not only the pets when you have to fill in, but also a growing team of employees. And isn't pet sitting supposed to be about your love for animals, not endless human resource headaches? When you board dogs in your own home, you get to hold the reins. You control the quality of care, ensuring that your reputation remains unblemished. Okay, and on another front, let's look at it from this angle. Let's do the math. Let's crunch the numbers, okay? So suppose you charge $100 per night for in-home pet sitting, in the client's home pet sitting, okay? To make it worthwhile for a pet sitter, then they probably need at least $80 a night, right? Because they can't get $80 per dog. They're $80 per night, right? This leaves your company a mere $20 per night. Now, let's say you have 5 sitters covering 25 nights a month, right? Taking into effect that they have a few nights off, right? And if you take 25 times the 20 that you're making per night, that means you're going to bring in about $2,500 in revenue for that month. That means booking about 125 nights a month of boardings. You're also managing 5 different people throughout this entire month in these 125 bookings. Plus, you have to constantly stay on top of sales and bringing in new bookings and new customers and rebookings and asking for referrals and all that jazz, right? Hiring. Now you have to hire constantly because this is a huge turnover field. So you're always going to be hiring. You're always going to be scheduling them. You're always going to be working on the payroll. You're always going to be marketing, right? You're marketing for the job opportunity as a pet sitter in your business, and you're also marketing for dog owners to come and use your services. Okay, now imagine a home-based model where you're doing boarding and or daycare in your home and or your dog walker even. And say you're boarding, for this example, let's say it's for boarding and daycare. Say you're boarding 5 dogs for 25 nights at $80 per night, right? So 5 dogs for 25 nights, this gives you 5 nights off on average per month, and which is still not enough, right? But let's just go with this example so that it's similar to the other one. And that basically generates you $10,000 a month. Okay. Before we're generating $2,500 a month. Now we're talking $10,000 a month for the same number of nights booked. Okay. 125 bookings. All right. So now we did not add in the cost of labor if you hire anybody to help you out in your home boarding. So let's just presume that you have a part-time helper working like 8 hours a week at $15 per hour. And so your labor costs would be about $480, right? Because if you have 5 dogs per night, on average 5 nights a week, then that's leaving you generally weekends off. And so you're kind of, that's something you can probably do on your own. But let's just say you decide to have somebody come in for 8 hours, maybe 4 hours one day, 4 hours another day to help with cleaning or whatever. And, you're paying $480 a month for that. We're not factoring in taxes. We're just doing everything net right now here. So that leaves you with roughly $9,520 in revenue. So not only are you earning significantly more, but you're also managing just one team member instead of a dozen unreliable sitters. And there's another crucial advantage to this, which I don't think it's talked about often enough, and that is loyalty. Because when clients entrust their dogs to your home, their pets build bonds with you and with the other dogs, with their paw pals. And this unique personal connection makes it far harder for a client to switch to a backup sitter, even if availability becomes an issue. In fact, often what you'll find as a home dog boarder, they're going to check, the customer will check with your schedule before they even book their travel, because they want to know that their dog is going to come into a place where they feel comfortable, where they get the socialization at the same time as an added bonus, and they are used to you as a sitter. Now, you can say, yeah, but you can, get used to having a sitter come into the client's home. Yeah, that's true. But it is so much easier to replace the sitter that comes into your home because you're not changing the entire environment for the dog, right? If you're a home-based dog sitter, then for somebody to change their dog sitter and take their dog to another home, that's changing not only the human that's watching them, but it's changing their entire environment. So you'll find a lot of dog owners who hire pet sitters to come into their home will often have a backup pet sitter or two. They often have two or three that they call upon because for them, it's not that big of a deal to just have a different person come in to their home. Their dog's still in the same environment. But for somebody who's taking their dog to another person's home on a regular basis every time they travel, it's completely different if they have to find a new home to take their dog to. Okay. So if you go back to the math, obviously that speaks volumes. Your home based model can literally bring in over $7,000 more a month than managing multiple pet sitters. And it really doesn't end there because when you introduce daycare services, the benefits multiply. All right. They exemplify. That's probably not the right word. But with daycare dogs, they return home every single day, allowing you to maintain regular business hours and reduce the nightly boarding requirement that you need to bring in the income that you desire. Yet you still see a boost in your earnings. So, you get to reclaim your evenings and weekends, all right? And you get to set up your daycare days and business hours so that you get to determine what days you're working. And you get to reduce the amount of dogs you have there boarding at all times. It is huge. It's a big win-win. So let me share with you a personal turning point that I experienced in my whole business journey here so far. So in 2020, amid a really slow business year, and for obvious reasons, right? The global pause that we all felt, my sweet beloved soul dog, who was only 8 years old, Pepe Le Pew, he fell gravely ill. All right. And when he passed away from stomach cancer, it was pretty sudden. It all happened over a 2 to 3 month period. And when he passed, I was really slow anyway, right? Didn't have a whole lot of dogs. But I went ahead and I closed down completely for a month after he passed away, just so I could grieve and heal. I just wasn't ready to have other dogs here. All I could think about was Pepe Le Pew. If I saw another dog, it just made me cry. I just needed some space. And I reopened exactly a month later because I'd already had dogs booked for Christmas that year, and that was on December 20th. And I ended up completely fully booked over the holidays and for the next 2 years straight. I had literally 5 to 10 dogs boarding here almost every single night. Okay, I worked at least 14 hours a day. I mean, sometimes I remember just rolling out of bed and looking at the clock and rolling over and being like, "Oh, I have 5 minutes before a dog shows up." And it's like 5:45, it's like 5:55 AM, and that dog's coming at 6 AM. And so I would literally roll out of bed, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth at the same time, and then throw on some clothes. Sometimes I would still be sleeping in my yoga pants because I just didn't have the energy to take them off the night before, and I would just wear those. Sad but true. And don't you love yoga pants? And I would just rush out the door and I would meet that dog arriving at 6 AM, literally sleepers still in my eyeballs. Okay. I didn't care what I was wearing. I didn't care what I looked like. I didn't even touch my hair. It like threw my hair up in a ponytail and off I went. And it didn't matter, right? Because like in 5 to 15 minutes, I was going to be covered in mud and dog slobber all over again anyway. So I care, right? And I loved what I did. But the relentless pace began to take its toll on me. It began to take its toll on my health, my waistline, and my personal relationships. So I knew that something had to change. And I felt guilty, for a long time because I didn't know what I was going to do to get out of this. I had to make a living to survive. Nobody else was supporting me. And yet I couldn't be a good girlfriend. I couldn't be a good daughter. I couldn't be a good friend. And I couldn't take care of myself. And so I felt trapped. I didn't know where I was going to go. But one day I finally came up with a plan. And the plan was all based around how do I continue to serve my people and my dogs, my fur babies, and yet at the same time reclaim my time, reclaim my life so I can take care of myself at the same time, right? And that is when I introduced a daycare membership. It took me, I don't know, 5 or 6 months to get it all together. It wasn't easy. But once I did, it allowed me to scale my business without sacrificing my life. And it wasn't an easy transition. I pleaded with my boyfriend to be patient because I did feel guilty that I was working from 6 AM till, I didn't say, sometimes literally until midnight. I mean, I can't tell you how many nights I'd be working until midnight. I would be communicating with customers up until 10 o'clock, sometimes 11 o'clock at night. There'd be schedule changes, cancellations, more requests, questions about payment, keeping up on the daycare packages. I sold 10 days for a discounted rate, and it was like, then by the time I got all the invoicing done and keeping track of everything and then getting things set up for the next day and then just kind of, relaxing a little. It'd be 12, 1 o'clock before I get in bed. That's why I was rolling out of bed at 5:55 and sleeping till every last minute and second that I possibly could. And so I was begging my boyfriend to just, be patient. I'm going to get this figured out. We're going to do more daycare. That way, I'll have nights off more often. And in the end, my relationship didn't make it. And I don't think it's just because of that, right? But I'm sure that was a big part of it. I know that was a big part of it. But it's not because, the plan failed of doing this membership, but it's just because it took too long. And it took too long for me to figure out how to run my business rather than it running me. And that's what I don't want for anybody out there. If that is you, if your business is running you and you really value giving dogs and their dog owners, the dog owners, an experience and lots of value, and you want to make a difference in dogs' lives rather than just trading your time for money or hiring pet sitters and becoming a babysitter of a team, then this is for you. If you're a dog walker, this is for you. If you implement a membership, right, then you have consistency, you have predictability, and you don't have to worry about the stress every single month of trying to get people to book with you again and finding new business and worrying about somebody canceling at the last minute, right? You see, the beauty of daycare is that it transforms your work-life balance. Dogs go home every day if you're doing daycare. And if you're doing dog walking, you get to set your hours and you get to work during the regular hours that you choose, during regular business hours as anyone else, if you want to. You even get to choose if you want to take a day off during the week on a regular basis, right? I love having Mondays and Fridays off because those are the best days to go to the grocery store because nobody's in them. Right? Anywhere I have to run to for some errands, you name it, the DMV, you name it, I don't have to wait in a line. It's such a time saver. It's amazing, right? So this model not only boosts your revenue, but it also enriches your life by allowing you to nurture relationships, both the human and the canine relationships. Consider the difference in value that you offer. You see, watching pets in a client's home leaves little room for differentiation. Let's see if I can say that real fast. Okay, you can tidy up their place a little bit more than the next person. You might leave a thoughtful little gift or something. But beyond that, how much more can you offer that brings value above and beyond what someone else does? But boarding dogs in your own home lets you create a unique, memorable experience. Here, dogs get to enjoy genuine social interaction. They build confidence. They make lifelong pals. Experiences that their owners simply cannot replicate on their own or when a pet sitter comes into their own home. When you provide this level of care, you're not just taking care of pets. You're not just taking care of somebody's house and mail. You're literally lifting the weight of guilt off of the owner's shoulders. Think about it. These owners are likely feeling guilty that their dogs never get social time, that their dogs don't always get the exercise that they need every day or the mental stimulation that they need every day. This is something you as a home boarder can give them every single day that they come there. And you, voila, like magic, you lift the weight off of the owner's shoulders of not being able to do everything and be everything to everyone and every dog in their lives, right? Whether it's their fur babies or their human babies. There's just so many hours in the day. And you get to come in and say, don't worry about the dog. I'll make sure their needs are met and they're snuggle ready for you when you come home from work today. So you're saving them a lot of time if you're doing daycare. If you're a dog walker, you're saving them the time of walking their own dog on a busy day when they just finished a 10 or 12-hour workday and they still have to make dinner and get a little laundry in, right? Now, if you're solely chasing revenue, hiring sitters to work in clients' homes might seem appealing. However, the pet industry is notorious for its high turnover rate. Instead of working with animals, you're going to find yourself trapped in endless cycles of recruiting, training, and managing new sitters. And this is just going to turn your job into one that is managing the revolving door of temporary staff. And you kind of become like a pet sitter temp agency instead of a pet sitter who takes care of animals yourself. But if, like me, you dream of a business that aligns with your values, a business where you earn over 6 figures, have more time off, and truly impact the lives of dogs and their owners, then you really want to consider the home-based dog sitting model. Or you really want to consider, most of all, the membership model, whether you're a home-based dog sitter or a dog walker. It's a simple yet profound way to build a business on your terms. A business that honors your love for animals without sacrificing your quality of life. You know, I was once in the midst of what many call midlife crisis. I like to call it a spiritual awakening. That was really during the middle of it. I found this little book, and it was so beautiful, and it was really cute and short, and just a delightful book to read. The word delightful comes to mind because it was so delightful. It was so light. It was humorous, and it was uplifting, but it wasn't all serious or like super self-helpy or anything. It just had great little stories in it. And it was called The Little Things by Andy Andrews. I highly recommend it. It reminded me how our obsession with doing more and having more often leaves us disconnected from what truly matters. You know, when I worked in the corporate field, I longed to simply watch butterflies fly. And today, I get to watch dogs play and transform from timid pups into confident, joyful beings while watching butterflies fly. You see, I'm surrounded by the unconditional love of pups and really the simple pleasures of life. Experiences I never thought were possible in the relentless grind of managing a pet sitting empire if I wanted to hire pet sitters to go into other dog owners' homes instead of having dogs here. So it really comes down to, what do you value in life? If you're going to just value money and you're going to grow your business in a way with just that intention, I can guarantee you right now, one day it will crash and burn, because one day you're going to wake up and realize how miserable you are. Because building a business isn't just about making money. It is about building a lifestyle for yourself. It's what you do for a living. And that includes your lifestyle. What you do every day is your lifestyle. Okay. And if you are setting yourself up to build a business of doing every single thing you hate during the day, then you're going to hate your lifestyle. And you're eventually going to crash and burn and close up or sell or something. You're going to go back and get a job. You're going to say, this isn't working. This isn't giving me the fulfillment that I thought it was going to be. I always wanted to work with animals. And here you are instead behind a desk, managing people, behind a desk, dealing with the revolving door of people quitting and not showing up, and dealing with customers yelling at you because you do not have control of the reins. So if you're interested in structuring your dog sitting or dog walking business in a way that lets you savor the little moments every day, keep listening, because I'm working on something huge, something big. I'm super duper excited about it, because what it's going to do is it is going to empower you to make a lasting impact on your clients' lives while reclaiming your own at the same time. It is time to break free from the burnout and step into a simple, joyful life. And if you're just getting started in your business, you get to skip all of the craziness, the burnout, the working from 6 a.m. to midnight for 2 years straight. You get to skip that and jump right ahead past jail, go forward into Park Place, and go right into reclaiming your time and setting your business in a way that gives you the lifestyle that you love. So stay tuned. Keep coming back to the podcast. Keep listening. Follow me on YouTube at Conscious Pet Sitter or Instagram at Conscious Pet Sitter. And you'll see that I will be posting some information coming up here soon about how you can join a free workshop that I'm putting on that is going to break down exactly how you too can set up a membership so that you can stop stressing about the income every single month. You can stop overbooking yourself to make sure you have the revenue that you need. You can stop worrying about hiring other people, and you can focus on doing the things that you enjoy most while knowing that you have consistent and predictable income from month to month. I took my business from zero predictability, zero consistency of income to over $6,000 of consistent recurring income every single month. And that did not even count the boarding. That was just daycare alone. And if I could do that, then I know that you, like other clients I have coached have done, can do it as well. Isn't it time to break free from the burnout and just step into the simple, joyful life so that you too get to enjoy the little things every single day? If so, keep listening, and thank you so much for listening already. I do appreciate you. Thank you for your patience for this coming out late this week. And until next time, never forget to appreciate the little things, and happy tales to you.